Ladies and gentlemen, now hosting the RizzoCast, put your hands together for Steven Risotto!
What is going on, everybody, and welcome. This is episode number 90 of RizzoCast. I'm Steven Risotto, and today we are joined by a current right-handed pitcher for the San Francisco Giants organization, a former 10th rounder by the Miami Marlins in 2018 out of Purdue University. It is Tanner Andrews. He joins the show. Tanner, what's going on? Welcome. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be part of the Giants organization.
We're recording this a little bit less than a week away from Christmas here, holiday season. I mean, that means kind of shopping. So is your Christmas shopping done? Give us a status report on what's going on there.
For the most part, my wife takes care of most of that, but it's been kind of crazy. We've been in Jupiter, Florida, which is where the Miami Marlins are for spring training, and their facilities are here. We're going to go home for Christmas, which is Indiana for us. And then with the trade, me going to Arizona for a week and everything else, it's been kind of hectic, but we got it all done and we're leaving here for Indiana shortly.
Yeah, man, you've had a wild past few weeks, to say the least. I mean, the end result, of course, is going to the Giants organization via trade. Kind of explain to me that process and kind of how everything went down.
It was a really crazy process, actually, a really crazy day for me. I started the day with the Marlins, a normal day, and it was the day of the Rule 5 portion. And I got picked up by the Braves, and the Marlins called me and let me know that and said the Braves will be calling. And I never heard from the Braves, and was wondering, hey, what's going on? And come to find out the Braves had traded me to the Giants. So Marlins to the Braves to the Giants all in one day. Really hectic, but obviously a great thing for my career moving forward, and a great place to be is in the Giants organization.
And those that are wondering about the lockout, this really doesn't have anything to do with the lockout because it is considered a minor league transaction, I should say. Did you even know that there's a minor league Rule 5 draft? Because I had no idea that was even a thing.
I didn't until this past year. I had a teammate that was selected by the Marlins in the minor league Rule 5. So I kind of grilled him and asked him what to expect and what was going on. So I kind of figured it out through that process.
And I mean, getting traded is usually something like athletes try not to think about as they perform. Was there, were you prepared for this kind of thing? I mean, nobody's prepared for change a lot of the times. Were you prepared maybe to leave the Marlins organization, or had that not even slipped your mind?
You kind of, I wouldn't say you prepare for it, but you kind of always are ready for it. A trade is a great thing for your career, and it's kind of the name of the game. It can happen at any given moment. Like with me, it happened basically twice in one day. So it happens, and you kind of just roll with it. You look at it as an opportunity, and you work hard, and you move on, and you kind of just roll with it.
Have you heard anything from the San Francisco Giants organization since the trade? Any, words of wisdom? Maybe have you talked to some of the executives over there? Give us the conversation with the Giants.
Kyle Haynes called me and he just kind of said, hey, we're super excited to have you. He was actually teammates with one of my college coaches and someone Giants fans might be familiar with, Steve Holm, big league catcher for the Giants for a number of years. And so we connected on that level, kind of give some familiarity and just a base for the relationship there. And then I ended up flying out to Scottsdale to the Giants spring training facility this past week and spent a week there and got to know some players and some of the staff, and was welcomed with open arms. Great facility, great culture they have, it seems. And it was a great week of getting my feet wet in the Giants organization.
Was it different, and will it be different, do you think, going from, maybe Florida spring training to Arizona? Was that a bit of a different look for you?
I mean, yeah, it's always going to be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, you come in, you're ready to work, you're ready to get after it and put your best foot forward. everybody in the organization's there at that point. So it's a great opportunity to really set yourself apart and put your best foot forward, show the hard work you put in the off season, and kind of make a name for yourself.
And I know you're currently in the recovery process from Tommy John surgery, and it's become an epidemic, and many pitchers have resorted to undergoing the surgery. It's the procedure's kind of viewed now as part of the game. What is the recovery process like? Where are you at in your recovery right now, and how long until we see you out there on the field?
I had surgery July 7th. So I think I'm about week 23 or week 24. I start throwing this coming week. So I'm excited about that. The recovery process is challenging, more mentally than physically at some points. It's the longest a lot of us ever go without throwing a baseball. And so you're in the training room, you're in the rehab room, more than you're on the field, considerably more. And a lot of exercises, a lot of working the small muscles, the forearms, the scaps, the shoulder, the rotator cuff. You really put a lot into strengthening your body and strengthening your arm. So when you come back, you're stronger and you're more prepared than you were before. So it's tedious, monotonous work, but you just kind of have to keep your blinders on, keep working forward, keep taking it one day, one step at a time, and know that if you put in the work now, that it'll pay off later.
I'm always interested in this. Was there a certain moment when you felt something wasn't right? Was there like a moment in a game, or was it just kind of something that built up over time?
Mine was kind of weird. A lot of guys, they'll have a one pitch and they feel it. Mine was, I finished the game normal, actually. If we tied it up in the ninth, and we went to extra innings, I was going to go back in for extra innings. I felt great. I was throwing really well. And the next day I woke up and my elbow was kind of locked. I couldn't straighten it and I couldn't bend it very far. So I thought, oh, this is weird. Went to the trainer. He massaged it a little bit. We did a little like TENS unit recovery. I went through that day. It didn't feel great, but I thought it's just normal soreness. A little different than normal, but just a couple days of rest and we'll get back after it. The next day it was locked up again. So I went in the training room and from there we went to the doctor. Originally it was they called it a posterior bundle, which isn't the UCL. It's connected to UCL, but isn't the actual UCL. So I rehabbed that for about 5 or 6 weeks, and my first time back on the mound after that in the bullpen, about the 8th or 9th pitch, I felt it go. So went back to the doctor and decided that Tommy John or elbow reconstruction was the best path from there.
Let's get away from that. Let's talk some pitching here. I mean, 6'3", 220 pounds. Give me kind of a scouting report on Tanner Andrews without giving away too much, because I know pitchers are kind of superstitious about that. And so give us a scouting report and what Giants fans could kind of expect from you moving forward here.
I like to call myself an athlete on the mound. Pitchers kind of don't get that rep sometimes, but for me, that's something I take pride in, is being able to field my position, being able to be athletic on the mound. I'm going to attack the zone. I know that in baseball, it's really 9 versus 1. You have yourself and your teammates versus the one hitter, and the odds are in your favor as long as you stay in positive counts and you attack the zone. I think where pitchers get hurt a lot of times is falling behind and putting the hitter in the advantage. So I try to do the opposite and be on the attack at all times. Fill up the zone with all my pitches. I am a fastball guy with I have a split finger, which is probably my best off-speed pitch, and a slider as well. But I really just fill up the zone, and I like punch outs. I like to go for punch outs when I can, but I also don't want to give up too many pitches. So I don't like going 3-2, 2-2. If I get you 0-2, I'm going to go for it, but I don't want to waste too many pitches either.
No, yeah, that's really interesting. And so do you look at guys like Greg Maddux, who, won 18 gold gloves or something, 17, 18 gold gloves? And do you look at like guys like Marcus Stroman, who field their position really well? And because that's really overlooked, and it's really interesting that you said that you take pride in fielding your position. Do you consider yourself a guy who could be in future contention of a Gold Glove at the big league level? I know that's just a really dumb question, but yeah,
Yeah,
interested.
absolutely. We put in the work every single day, and like I said, I take pride in that. So giving an extra glove or making a play that to get out of an inning, to get out of the jam, really is huge for a pitcher. A lot of times it's your defenders or your outfielders or your shortstop, second baseman making a play to save you. But when you can make a play yourself and take care of it yourself, it's just all the more advantage.
So you're one of like the two guys that enjoys PFPs.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the PFPs get monotonous. It's hot or it's after a long day. So a lot of guys just kind of go through the motions, but I think that there's an opportunity there to make yourself better. And, when a pitcher makes a mistake in a game, feeling the ball, something that should be automatic, they kick themselves and say, I wish I would have taken it more seriously, and I don't want to be put in that position. I want to take it serious the first time, and I want to be able to help myself out on the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So is there a certain pitcher that you followed as a kid or kind of compare yourself to now in terms of stuff, mechanics, makeup? Is there any one guy that you followed that kind of you could compare your game to or have in the past?
I wouldn't say there's one guy. I grew up a John Smoltz fan. I love John Smoltz. But I wouldn't say I tried to mimic him or I compare myself to him. I just try to be the best me I can be. If I can master being the best Tanner Andrews I can be, then I feel like I'm in a really good spot.
Yeah, growing up in Indiana, there's definitely a few ways you could go in terms of rooting for a team. I mean, you could go north, you could find the Tigers, you could go west, the White Sox or Cubs, and then you could go east with the Reds or Indians. So which one was it for you? Or you mentioned you were a Smoltz guy. Were you a Braves fan? So where was your allegiance as a young baseball fan?
Yeah, I actually grew up a Braves fan. So my dad's from Kissimmee, Florida, and that's where the Braves spring training was for a long time. So growing up with my dad and my brother, we all rooted for the Braves and watched them on TBS. And it was the Chipper Joneses, the John Smoltz. I grew up a Braves fan, but more importantly, I think I just grew up a baseball fan. There's a lot of guys I watched that I really enjoyed watching pitching. You mentioned Greg Maddux, who was unbelievable. Justin Verlander has been incredible. Kershaw is left-handed and has the Big 12-6, but I think part of baseball and part of pitching that makes it so beautiful is that there's so many ways to do it to be great. There's not just one cookie cutter way. So you got guys that throw really hard. You got guys that mix speeds and use a changeup and use off speed. There's all different kinds of ways to do it. And I think I love that aspect of baseball is there's a lot of different sizes, shapes, forms of athletes and a lot of sizes, shapes, forms of what they're doing with the baseball. So I just really love that part of the game.
Yeah, then the Braves had a lot of variety. They had the power pitcher in Smoltz. They had the kind of control guy in Maddux and the finesse guy in Glavine. So I should ask you this as a Braves fan, former Braves fan here. Is Andrew Jones a Hall of Famer? Because I know that's a hot topic right now.
Oh, absolutely. For a guy to might be the best defensive center fielder of all time early in his career, some of the catches he made, and then later in his career, really hitting for power and kind of transforming with the game. So I think there's no doubt that he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think so too. I think he's, I second guessed it a few times, but I think Andrew Jones is definitely a Hall, and he gets knocked because of the things that he did later in his career and the lack of production post age 30. But I think for the most part, he's one of the best the game has seen in center field. Was it an easy decision for you to choose Purdue out of high school? What kind of appealed most about the school?
So ironically enough, I was going to play football in college and really focused my time on football and even basketball a little bit, but mostly football. And fell in love with Purdue as a campus early. And it was probably the summer between my freshman and sophomore years when I took my first visit. fell in love with the campus, really felt at home there. And as my high school career developed and I took more and more college visits, there was a lot of colleges that had great opportunities, but I never felt the same feeling I did when I first walked on the Purdue's campus. So I ended up going there, working out to play baseball. But I knew that Purdue was home to me from really my first visit there.
Yeah. So why was football and basketball, kind of set aside for baseball? How did things kind of change over time?
So really, it came down to football or baseball at the very end. And I had a concussion. I had some scares from that my junior year, and some breaks that went against me, some things I just kind of second guessed, and I was unsure. I ended up going to a football workout and running into Nick Whitgren, who was putting on a clinic, who's a big league pitcher, was with the Marlins, with the Indians, and now he's a free agent. But he went to Parkland Junior College and went to Purdue for a year. And I ran into him, and he kind of asked what I was doing. I told him, I'm leaning towards playing football. And he kind of told me I was crazy. And this is the first time I met him. So went from there, built a relationship with him, and ended up going to Purdue, working out for the baseball team, and the rest is history. But it was kind of from there. Growing up, my dad played baseball in college. My older brother played baseball in college. So we're kind of a baseball family. So it was easy to kind of fall back in love with baseball and put all my time, energy, and effort into that because my brother and dad had invested so much in that as well.
Yeah, and you were used in a lot of different ways at Purdue initially, and then your senior year you threw close to 100 innings, 98 innings during your senior season, and you had a 2.94 ERA. What clicked during that final season in Purdue? Was it finally getting kind of a set role as that Friday night guy, or was there kind of an adjustment that you made?
It wasn't any one thing. I role most of my sophomore and all of my junior year as well, but I think my senior year just really building that relationship with pitching coach Steve Holm and my catcher Nick D'Alessandro, who's in the Diamondbacks organization, and just trusting each other and going out there and knowing that it's our best stuff against them, and if we go out there and we attack the zone and we take care of our end, then the odds are in our favor. And that year we had a pretty magical run with Purdue, and the defense behind me was incredible. My teammates, we were so close on and off the field, and I think that was a lot of what had to do with that team and our individual numbers because we played so well as a team.
So one of my favorite things to do on this show, and a lot of the professional players have great answers and the former players have great answers. I always ask for a draft story because, drafts kind of have evolved over time. Some of them, some guys that I've talked to have gotten picked when there's television coverage, in the earlier rounds. Some guys in the later rounds don't have that. And some guys from way back when didn't even know they were drafted until like the next day. So we got to hear a Tanner Andrews draft story. Do you have one? Do you have a good one?
I mean, I don't have a great one, probably pretty normal. Just kind of, so the day before we were in North Carolina at our regional, and we got knocked out, eliminated from the regional, and we're flying home. And we had our exit interviews with our coach. So he came up to me the night before and said, "Hey, I know tomorrow's gonna be a big day for you. How about we do our interview first thing in the morning, say 6:30, 7. And then you can drive home, which is about an hour and a half from Purdue's campus, to be with your family for that day." And the draft started at noon, so we thought it'd be fine. But about midway through my interview with my coach, my phone started ringing, and it was teams and scouts that I had talked to throughout the year. So we ended up having to cut that short. Drove home, and I had talked to, I don't know, it seemed like 100 teams, but really didn't know where I was going to end up. I thought maybe with the Rockies or Yankees. I felt like I built a good relationship with their scouts and their cross checkers, and talked to numerous teams throughout the day. Ended up not working out, not pulling the trigger, and then finally I got drafted by the Marlins, who I hadn't even talked to. I think I filled out a questionnaire for them, but it was one of the few teams that I thought for sure, I don't think I'm on their radar. But ended up working out. Spent the last handful of years with the Marlins organization, and I've learned a lot and gotten a lot better as a player and as a person. So I'm thankful for them for giving me that opportunity. But pretty normal draft story for me.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Hey, I mean, you were drafted. So
Right.
yeah. So what was the adjustment like from, the NCAA to minor league baseball? Because I know a lot of people, a lot of players, while taking that next step, there's a bit of a struggle that comes with it. So what was that adjustment period like for you?
It was really good. It was great. I mean, you don't have to worry about going to class during the day and then playing at night. So you really focus on the baseball aspect of it. The travel was hard, and my first assignment was in Batavia, New York, which wasn't the best spot to be. But it was definitely a good experience, and learned how to kind of adjust to the minor league, the professional life. It was nice throwing to wood bats. It was nice playing with some guys that I played against throughout the years, but never really got to play with, and meet a bunch of new people, a bunch of new coaches. My first manager was Mike Jacobs, and I remember him as a fan, and big first baseman, power hitting first baseman, and it was kind of surreal walking into the clubhouse and Mike Jacobs being my manager. I thought that was pretty cool. So it was cool. It was an adjustment period for sure. Just being on your own, living in a hotel and in an unfamiliar part of the country, but it was a lot of fun. The process has been a lot of fun.
Man, Mike Jacobs, that guy dropped bombs. Mike Jacobs was way ahead of his time. He was one of those big left-handed all or nothing guys. He did it before it was cool. So shout out Mike Jacobs.
No, and and as good as he was a hitter, he's a better manager. Yeah, he loved his players and really got the best out of his players. So it was I played for him in 2018 and 2019, and he was definitely one of my favorite managers.
So do you see a big league future for Mike Jacobs in a coaching position?
Oh, I definitely see it at some point in his career with some organization. I don't know where it will be, but I think Mike Jacobs would definitely excel in that role.
Interesting. I didn't even know he's coaching, so that's interesting to hear. So it's an age-old debate, Tanner. I know that there's the debate always about minor league players and whether they should be paid more and the living situation improved. And there's kind of two schools of thought here. Some of the oppositions about that idea would say, it would take away from the motivation and the grind of being at the minor league level. And some of the supporters would say, it's inhumane and, these guys should be getting paid more. I see both sides of it. So what is kind of your thoughts on the whole situation with the minor league players? Because in some ways, it's a really gruesome scenario with the living situations.
Yeah, it is tough. And what we're kind of always been told is don't like it, play better. So, I mean, it's a touchy subject, and I think we're making a lot of steps in the right direction. Obviously, with the lockout, I think some of that is part of it. But I mean, there's truth on both ends of it. But I definitely think that at some point they got to make it a livable wage and help the players out a little bit.
Yeah, I heard somewhere where fans were going up to minor league ballparks and dropping or giving players Chipotle gift cards. So that kind of stuff goes a long ways at the minor league level. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I also read that you majored in organizational leadership. So what exactly is that? Because it sounds like something that could benefit you in a standpoint of a professional baseball locker room. So explain to me what exactly is organizational leadership, because that's interesting.
Yeah, kind of hit it right on the head, and that's one of the reasons I kind of veered towards that path. Organizational leadership it can be a lot of things, but within an organization or a team, it's how to deal with change, how to deal with different types of personalities, different peoples, in baseball, you deal with a lot of different people from different countries, and that's been a really neat aspect of it. So how to communicate when there's a language barrier, how to communicate, how to listen, and just how to lead people through difficult times and how to lead people through good times. So it's more business geared in college, obviously, but you can spin it off and use it in a team setting as well, because business really is a team. But in athletics, it's more based off team.
Do you know any other languages? Yeah,
I do not speak. I mean, broken Spanish from just my years with the Marlins and our Latin players, which I've really enjoyed getting to know a lot of them. They're great, and I respect them a lot coming to a different country when they're 15, 16, 17 years old and not speaking the language and just jumping in and chasing their dreams. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's funny, I always talk to people and they always say, we know the certain baseball terms in Spanish because they know the certain baseball terms in English. So I thought that was a really neat aspect of it too. All right, before we sign off here, I have a few rapid fire questions. You don't have to answer them rapid fire. I'm trying to do a knockoff intentional talk thing here or whatever. I don't know what I'm going for, but whatever. First things first, if you weren't playing baseball, what would Tanner Andrews be doing?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Growing up, obviously the goal was athletics. I mentioned football, I mentioned basketball, I mentioned baseball, but I also I think I could see myself in a military role as well. If athletics didn't work out, obviously the respect I have for our troops and the ones that protect our country is crazy, and I think that's so honorable and so noble for them, and I think that's a career path I could have seen myself going down. Now in the spot I'm in, after my career, I want to get into coaching, just because, especially at the college level, it's a big change in a young man's life as an 18-year-old. Growth that happens during those times. And I know my coaches were a huge part in what made me, what makes me today, and kind of leaned on as a second father throughout college and kind of took me under. It's just a huge spot in a young man's life. And I think that you can have a great impact in that role. So that's something I want to get into after my playing career. So hopefully a long time from now.
There you go. We love to see some more use on that organizational leadership degree. So there you go. All right, next one here. Favorite TV show of all time, or maybe current favorite TV show?
Ooh, that's tough too. I mean, of course, I love the Prison Breaks. The Blacklist is a good one. Manifest is a new one that's good. But I'd say the best or most funny that I keep going back to is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Their sense of humor cracks me up. It's crude at some points. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I find it funny.
The crude humor is always funny, and it's interesting how it works in today's climate, but that's a different discussion. Favorite minor league city?
Ooh, minor league city. Well, I mean, growing up in northern Indiana, it was cool to play in South Bend and in the Fort Waynes, because those are the ballparks I went to as a kid. So those are really cool. But Pensacola this past year in AA was incredible. The way they support their ball club, being right on the beach. It was a really cool city, a really cool atmosphere, and I'd say I'd have to go with Pensacola.
All right, favorite baseball movie, and this one could result in some people getting triggered, but we'll see. Favorite baseball movie?
I'm gonna go with The Sandlot. Classic growing up, one of my favorites. So I mean, there's a ton of great baseball movies. I spent a summer in Clinton, Iowa, and they'd be telling me Field of Dreams is the only way to go, which is a great movie, and it was cool to see that house and that them bring that back to life this last year. But I'd say The Sandlot is my go-to.
Yeah, every time I think of The Sandlot, Babe Ruth, that's all that comes to my head every single time. All right, final one here before we sign off. favorite Christmas tradition. Again, the holiday season's coming up. What's going on with the family?
Well, I mean, just the time together. And probably every year for the past 4 or 5 years, I've shaved my facial hair into a mustache, which is kind of my own Christmas tradition, just to, I don't know, lighten the mood. A lot of travel, it's just kind of my thing. And I'm slacking a little bit this year with so much change. I might have to go a different route, but just the family time, just being together with the family, being home with close to my best friends and family it's really the best part of it for me.
Tanner, man, this was super fun. I appreciate you coming on and taking a few minutes to talk. And best of luck to you in the San Francisco Giants organization, and congrats on the trade.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Like I said, I'm excited to be here. And before we sign off, I just want to say, it's not just about me. It's about everybody that has invested time into me and effort and energy into making me who I am and getting me to this point. Especially my parents, my dad, and my brother, and my mom for driving us all around the country. So it's not just about me. It's about everybody that's invested time into me to get me to this point.
And many of those names were name dropped: Steve Holm, Mike Jacobs. So,
yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So those guys, love to hear those names again. So you guys can follow Tanner on Twitter at T13Andrews. He's already. This was interesting. The day the trade happened, the bio was changed like snap, like it was changed super quick to San Francisco Giants. So go ahead, follow Tanner on Twitter, and you guys could follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at RizzoCast. And find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, etc., wherever you find your podcasts. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Episode 100. We're creeping down on it. It's coming up super quick. Thank you guys for listening, and enjoy your holiday season.